Hey, what's up, comrades? It's time for volume number 14 of Fairy Tale. And this we pick up right in the midst of the Fairy Tale brawl that's going through everywhere. And we get Freed, or Fred. Is it just Fred? Anyway, he's beating the shit out of art guy, Ritas. And Makarov and Natsu are watching and super upset. And Laxus is being like a real asshole. And in fact, he astral projects or projections over here so he can taunt the old man and tells him that if he gives up and makes him the leader of Fairy Tale, that he'll take care of the girls so they don't get turned into sand. Because remember the Everglade, I think is her name, turn them all into stone statues. And if whoever wins like the battle, if it's not the Fairy Tale members who aren't part of the Raging Guild, which is Laxus's guild, not guild, like faction within the guild, then they're all going to get turned to sand. And Laxus is taunting them, and then they're like, oh yeah, we may be stuck in here, but we still got Gray, and Gray's great. And then we skip over to Gray, who in the previous volume, he was getting in a fight with Bixlo. Bixlo is the guy who controls souls and puts them into puppets and not. So we get some sweet shonen anime fighting. You just fight. He freezes all the puppets and then gets like a real knee to the face for Bixlaw. And the Bixlaw, like, he's about to smash him with ice, but the Bixlaw's like, aha! Because he's got these mannequins in this place where they're at, and the mannequins are puppets now, right? Because the souls can be moved to any puppets. And so then Gray tries to freeze him and hit him, and the guy like runs off. Gray chases him, and he ends up in one of these like Jujutsu Kaisen, Jutsu Shiki areas where he's not allowed to use magic. And then he gets assaulted by all the puppets using like super fire magic or whatever. And Bixlaw's like, aha! But then Gray, because he's a badass, bounces up the walls of this alleyway and slugs Bixlaw in the face, knocking him down. And the Bixlaw's like, fuck! And then he turns around, but ruh-roh, that's all Gray's got. So now he's down. And then the projection of Laxus is like laughing and taunting. And then the old man, Makarov's like, all right, I surrender. And he's like, no, you can't just surrender. You have to give Fairy Tale over to me. I'll give you some time to think about it. And then he nopes the fuck out of there. And then Natsu's like, fuck. And then the Makarov's like, well, it's okay. We still got Gajil. He'll be okay. And then they hear some like crunching of metal, and they turn, and Gajil's just like chilling in here eating a table. And Natsu's like, the fuck are you doing? Stop eating that table and get out there. He's like, yeah, I'll go. And then he also smashes in the wall. And they're like, they repeat again that whatever the Jutsu Shiki here, anyone over the age of 80 or stone statues are forbidden from crossing over. And it's like, the fuck? Like, are all these dragon eaters over the age of 80? Anyway, we then go to Everglade. I'm pretty sure that's her name. And she's looking over a bunch of people that she's beating the shit out of. Bixlaw's beating some people up. Freed's beating some people up. We just get like sad. This is like the dark time of the anime where you have to be like, oh no, what are we going to do? What's going to happen? Oh no. And then Makarov's like, oh, I have to surrender. I have to give up the guild. And then Gajil and Natsu are like, no, we're not going to do it. We're going to fight. We'll figure out a way. And then Natsu's like, you know what? I'm going to use fire magic on on Urza to melt the stone so that she'll be okay. And he runs over and he's about to do it, and then Urza's stone cracks, and they're like, oh no, fix it. And Gajil's like, yes, let's fix it. And then Natsu starts praying for forgiveness, and then Urza pops out. She's like, huh? Nanideska? And she's like, why do I feel so hot? And then she knocks the shit out of Gajil and Natsu. And it's like, hooray, Urza. And then we get the whole thing with like, oh, I guess the stone thing didn't really work on me because I have a fake eye. And if you remember, I brought it before that she had an eye patch that was like healed with like a fake eye from the old lady in the forest. And so because the stone magic is done using the power of like eyesight or whatever, that this didn't affect her completely. So she was able to break out. So now she's able to go fight. And then it's like 4 members. And it's like, wait, so if there's 4 members left, there's Natsu, Gajil, Urza, and then she's like, Mist again. Oh yeah, Mist again, that guy. So we see him rolling back into town with all his staffs and whatnot. And then we see Laxus with his cronies, and it's like the counterattack begins. And then Gajil and Natsu are still like pressed against the barrier. So Urza's first move is to go take care of Everglade. So she runs around, eventually finds, am I saying her name correctly? Evergreen, I'm sorry. So Evergreen. And then it's like, she hates Urza because Urza's Titania, the queen of fairies, and she's like, I'm the greatest fairy. And so they do like fairy shonen anime magic. Urza's like fighting with her swords, and the Evergreen's shooting like she can't use the stone thing because of Urza's eye, but she keeps sending like all these needles and all this stuff and fight, and they're just keeping up. And then she's like, oh yeah, keep up with this, and I'm gonna double it. So she doubles it, but then Urza starts fighting with swords on her feet and her hands, and then Evergreen's like, ruh-roh. And so Urza bursts her way over to Evergreen and pins her against the wall, and we get a nice shot of her rack. And then Evergreen's like, oh, if you try to do something to me, I'm going to destroy their friends. What are you going to do about that? And then I need you to get naked and bow down before me. And so it looks like Urza's getting naked, but she's already transforming into like her ultimate thing. And she's like, all right, so that's how this is going to be, huh? And she's like, they may die, but I'm going to purify their souls with your blood. And then Evergreen's like, fuck, I give up. And then Urza goes up and like boinks her in the face and is like, that's how you intimidate someone, you dumb bitch. And then right then we see Lucy pop out of the stone, and then Juvia, Kanna, Mira Jane, Levy, and I can't remember what's the last name, the gun girl. So they're all back to normal, and it's like, hooray, they're all back. And it's like, now, okay, so now all the ladies can head out because they're not over 80 and they're not stone statues anymore. And then Laxus is off in his thing, and he's pissed that everyone green got beat. And Fred's like, well, you should have sent me or Bixlaw because she's weak. And then they get kind of like a weird argument because Fred's like, isn't this going too far? I think we're done. Like, we don't have any leverage over Makarov to make him quit anymore. So eventually this like stuff's going to wear out. The girls, in the meantime, get caught up with everything that's going on. And then they're getting super mad at Laxus, and then Natsu's like, you shouldn't be mad at Laxus, we're just trying to figure out who the strongest is. And all the girls are like, the fuck is wrong with you? And he's like, it's gonna be great, we should have done this a long time ago, it's so awesome. And then Juvia and Gajil are watching like Natsu try to fight Lucy, like pulling her hair, just kind of being like a 7-year-old boy. And she's like, this is such a fun guild. And Gajil's like, this place is fucking crazy. Then we get all these like lightning pirate flags, and it's Laxus announcing that he's in 1.5 hours or whatever, or 1 hour 10 minutes, that he's going to enact Thunder Palace. Thunder Palace is he creates all these like thunder or lightning lacrima around the whole town, and if they go off, they're going to just do continuous lightning strikes all over town and essentially destroy the town and hurt all the civilians. And Makarov like has like heart palpitations, so Mary Jane has to go get his like medication because he's like an old fucking man. And then they talk about it, and then the gun girl who re-equips a rifle and shoots one of them down, and then she gets zapped. And then Kanna's like, oh shit, they're using organic link magic. Kind of stupid nonsense is that? I love this guy. this fucking anime. It's so good. And it's like every time you attack one of them, they're gonna rebuttal with like equal power. And then Natsu goes and like starts smashing against the barrier again. And Frida's like, you've taken this too far. And then they start screaming at each other. And then Levy's like, wait a second, letter magic, I can deal with that. That's like my whole thing. And they're like, Nani desu ka? So she's hard at work searching, and then Makarov's knocked down, and the gun girl's knocked down, and Levy's looking super sexy. We keep getting like the backside of her while she's bent over, like reading books with like her sexy glasses and stuff. So that's fun. I love this. I love this manga so much. We go back to Fred and Laxus, and they're screaming at each other, and Fred's like, whatever. The souls of those I kill are on your head. And then Urza's like, I have found Laxus's hold, and she bursts into her room, and it's like a bunch of men showering, and she's like, fucking Evergreen lied to me. So then Lucy's with Happy wandering around, Kanna's with Juvia, and then Urza's on her own, and that's the ladies are all out and about. And Lucy gets attacked by Bixlaw, and she's like, the fuck is... And then we start having a shonen anime battle. She summons Sagittarius to shoot him down, and once she shoots him down, he summons like new puppets, and then she's like, ruh-roh, and then she's about to get blasted by like some super fire attack, and Loki pops out, and he's like, ta-da! I have the ability to jump through gates, even if you don't summon me, you dumb bitch. Because I guess she like dropped her keys at some point, and he's like, I got this. And then Bixlaw's like, oh, you? I always knew you were like a celestial spirit. I guess you're back to it. And then Lucy's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense, because the Bixlaw can like look at people's souls or whatnot. And Loki like talks shit to him and says, by the power of love between me and Lucy. And then Happy's like, are you guys fucking? And she's like, what? No! And Lucy's like, I'm going to fight with you. So she pulls out her whip, and she's wearing like a cheerleading outfit for some reason, and it's hot as hell. So anyway, so then Loki starts killing all the puppets, and then Lucy runs over at Bixlaw and starts whipping at him, and he's dodging back, and then finally he's like, I will use my secondary skill, because all the Raijin tribe or whatever have secondary skills they use with their eyes. And so his power is that if he looks you in the eye, he can turn you into a puppet. And so Loki and Lucy have to like, and Happy have to like close their eyes, and so they start kind of getting pushed back again. And then she's thinking that she can summon, she needs to like release Loki and then summon the clock, because then she can, fight him without looking, because the clock can look and it's like protected or whatever. But she's like, oh shit, I don't have my keys, I can't do that right now. And so Loki's like, do you trust me? And she's like, of course I trust you. And so he does some super like light attack, so the Bixlaw has to like close his eyes and turn away. And at that point Lucy runs up and like whips him right in the neck and then pulls him down, and then fucking Loki runs up and just beats the shit out of him. Like Regulus impact, just knocks him the fuck out. And then she's like, thank you so much, Loki. And he's like, look at this. And it's a little light show that says I love Lucy. And then Happy's like, so you guys are definitely fucking. She's like, no. And then at that point Lucy needs to like take a napopotamus, because she's all turned up and beat up, and you get some like underboob from her like cheerleading outfit, which is fucking awesome. And then what's his name? Loki shows back up and he's like, I found your keys. And she's like, awesome. And then they get the announcement that Lucy beat Bixlon. It's like, Bunny Girl won the fight. And Levy's like, good job, Lucy. And then Gajil's like, I'm surprised, Bunny Girl. And then they start bickering about bunnies and bunnies being powerful or something and like what they can do. And then Levy's like, oh, I figured it out. And then she did. And so, I forgot Mary Jane's still around. So Mary Jane's walking around. She finds Elfman, her brother, and then picks him up. And then we have Freed, and Frid, he uses one of his, like, he's the trap guy, so he uses the trap, and he puts Juvia and Counta in a trap where only one of them can survive, or only one of them can be conscious for the battle to continue, and then whoever, like, survives can go fight him. And so Juvia's like, I got this. So she flies up and blasts into one of the lightning lacrima, which knocks her out so that Kana can fight, and then Kana starts fighting. But she's obviously not as good as Frid. But she looks so badass as fucking hell when she's like screaming and crying and like getting ready to attack Freed. At that point, Natsu and Gajil are out, so they split up. And Natsu's like looking for Laxus and trying to avoid all the traps. And then we get a shot of Gajil. He's talking to like some weird spirit puppet thingy, and he's talking about how like the puppet's telling him like, hey, you need to be good and nice because we got to trust the guildmates, and then we're going to get our revenge. And then Gajil's like, it's time to punish Fairy Tail. It's a while off. And then Mary Jane stumbles upon Kana, who's getting the shit kicked out of her by Freed. And then Elfman's there too. So Elfman goes up to fight Freed, and then Freed uses his secondary ability, which is like the Dark Écriture Pain, which is where he draws words onto people, causing them to feel pain. And so Elfman's just like fighting through it, but he's not strong enough. And eventually he drops, and then Freed is about to use some sort of death attack, and then Mary Jane has like a PTSD flashback of like her sister Mira dying, and then she's like, hell no. And then Freed's like, Mary Jane. And then Mary Jane like unleashes like her demon self, and she looks hot as shit. And then she flies up and like starts bashing this dude, and then he's like, oh yeah, it takes a demon to fight a demon. Oh, Satan's Soul, that's what her thing's called. And so then he transforms into like a demon as well, called Darkness or whatever. And so they shown an anime battle through the sky, and it's punch and kicks and flames and fucking radical and like a tornado shit. And finally she uses some like super ultra attack that just like ravages him completely. And then he falls to the ground, and then he's like, oh fuck, I'm dead, because she's gonna kill my ass. And she goes up and she's right about to punch him in the face to like murder him. Oh, she's like holding his head, and then she stops and remembers Mira, and then, or not Mira, Mira's her name, remembers her sister, and then she transforms back, and she's like, this is a pointless fight. And then she uses the power of love and friendship, that's right, friendship is magic, to convince Frid that like he's not alone, that Laxus is the only person he can trust. And then essentially Frid like remembers all the times he was invited to do stuff, and how Makarov told him he was good, and Natsu wanted to fight him because Natsu wants to fight everybody. And Ken invited him to drink, and she's like, you're not alone, you don't have to be alone. And then Frid starts crying, and he's like, I didn't want to do any of this stuff. And Mira Jane's like, I know, it's okay, don't worry about it. And then she wins. And then so the volume wraps up, and it's like, in the Battle of Fairy Tail, only one member of Laxus' side remains, Laxus. And then we get like a shot of him in the middle, and then Natsu, Gajil on top, and Mystigan and Ertz on the bottom, and it's like dun dun dun, fucking awesome. All right, so go ahead, like, share, subscribe, comment, and I will catch you guys later.